What's going on, everybody? It's Q from Retro Q Gaming, and we're here today to talk about the interesting war, if you will, that's heating up in the PC digital distribution space. Obviously, on the PC, unlike console, we have many digital distribution platforms. For example, on the PlayStation, you can only get your games through the PlayStation Network digitally, as well as on the Xbox, you can only get them through Xbox Live, and on the Switch, you can only get them digitally through the eShop. Whereas on PC, as an open platform that strives on competition, that's not actually the case. You can get your games from a number of places. You can get your games from Steam, you can get your games from Uplay, you can get your games from GOG, you can get your games from Origin, and even more on top of it. But more and more recently, there's a lot of conversations happening about the latest place where you can get your games digitally on PC. That one being the Epic Store launcher, or the Epic Games launcher, whatever one you want to call it. Originally, this was just a launcher really just to play Fortnite, as well as access some Unreal Engine tools, and hell, while it was actually in development, the latest version of Unreal, you could play the pre-alpha version, but of course, we know that's no longer the case. It's now being transformed into a store, slowly but surely, but it is being transformed into a store. Now, many people didn't pay much attention to this at first, because all that we knew and all that we saw announced was just a couple of indie games coming here or there, a couple of deals, a couple of free games now and again, all small little indie ones. It didn't seem to be a big problem, or it didn't seem to be anything of note. But that all quickly started to change when Epic Games announced that they were going to start working with developers, they were going to start paying developers to make their PC games platform exclusive. So those games would be exclusive to just the Epic Games Store. Now, there's already been a few of them, but generally they're not the biggest name stuff. While I realize that The Division 2 is a semi-high profile game, at the end of the day, not many people are really that pushed about that. I mean, you can get it on multiple different platforms. You could, originally at least, have it listed on Steam to potentially get it on there. You could buy it on Uplay. I haven't checked Origin, but I know a lot of the Ubisoft games actually release on Origin as well, believe it or not. But now this one seems to be exclusive to just the Epic Games Store and Uplay itself, bypassing Steam, the biggest gaming community in the world, entirely. And Epic have been working on this stuff. Like I mentioned earlier, they've been working with developers, they've been giving them subsidies, bonuses just to launch on their platform, whatever, as well as what many developers and many other people consider a more fair profit sharing model. Let me give you a quick example. Metro Exodus, the reason why we're making this video. Metro Exodus has been available to pre-order on Steam for months now. The game is out in just over 2 weeks. And just yesterday, on the 28th of January, it was actually announced by Metro and Deep Silver, which is their publisher, that the game would not be launching properly on Steam just yet. What they actually announced was a timed exclusivity deal with Epic Games. So as of late last night, again the 28th, the pre-orders were going to be shut down on Steam, and it would be moving exclusively to the Epic Games Store for exactly 1 year. The game will relaunch on Steam on February 15th, 2020. Now, there are a couple of caveats to that as well. For example, if you have a pre-order already through Steam for Metro Exodus, you will be able to download and play it day one. Not in 2020, but on February 15th, 2019. All the patches, support, DLC, etc. will be exactly the same, properly supported at launch. But here's where it gets interesting. So, as it stands, Steam takes a 30% cut for using its service. So the basic version of Metro, which was listed as €60, when they sell a single copy of that on Steam, Valve takes 30%, or €18, leaving the devs with €42 to distribute between, say, publishing rights, the developer, whoever, and whatever needs to be paid. On the Epic Games Store, the profit sharing model is actually 88 to 12. What that means is that anytime something is sold on the Epic Games Store, Epic actually only takes a 12% cut. So obviously more money goes to the developers. Now, in the case of Metro, when it moved over yesterday, this has immediately shown a tangible benefit to consumers and PC gamers. Because of the lower cut that Epic Games takes from stuff sold on their store, 4A Games have actually been able to sell Metro at a reduced price on the Epic Games Store. And it will still make more money from it. Let me give you the comparison. We already looked at the Steam version, the Steam profit sharing and whatnot for Metro, €60, and they would have lost €18 to Steam. Whereas with the Epic Games 12%, they're now selling the game for €50, and they're only losing €6. So that way, they're making €44 on every single copy sold. Of course, the important thing to note here is the consumer side of it. As the consumers, we do get cheaper games because of something like this, or at least the potential to get cheaper games is like this. I don't think The Division, for example, is going to get a cheaper price. I haven't looked, but I would not be surprised if many developers did not opt to reduce their prices. Now, before we move on to the rest of the video, I just want to say I actually talked about something like this very, very recently, probably a couple of weeks ago. I actually pondered when the Epic Games startup or Epic Games Store was starting to draw games away from Steam and whatnot, was that would other companies do this as well? Now, we've already seen some of them do it. Bethesda are doing it, EA have been doing it for years, Ubisoft tried it but failed miserably, but the big one is Cyberpunk 2077 and GOG Galaxy. The more and more this happens, the more and more precedent is actually set for other companies to do this. Granted, CD Projekt Red has a pretty good reputation. They're the ones that own GOG Galaxy, by the way. And could Cyberpunk 2077 be the perfect draw to try get everyone to move over to their store? But let's look back at the Epic Games launcher for a second. Now, I know many people are hesitant to move over to the Epic Games launcher for various different reasons. Because it's linked to Fortnite and what would be your Fortnite account, even if you've never played the game, the chances of your account being compromised or hacked or whatever are exponentially higher. Now, I realize there's things like two-factor authentication and whatnot, but still, the chance and the opportunity and the frequency is there in increased numbers. And the next problem is something I refer to as the Nintendo Switch effect. The Epic Games Store, just like the Nintendo Switch, lacks complete basic functionality that we've come to expect over the last 10, 15, 20 years. There's no forums or reviews or communities or support. In fact, recently when one of the games became free on the Epic Games Store, because there was no community, there was no forums to seek help, and there was no proper support, users that were having the issues with the game actually had to go back to the Steam forums just to find this. Now, you could say, okay, sure, it's a new platform, it's a new service, they want to grow slowly but surely. But let me tell you why that is not an acceptable answer in this case. Epic Games have been around a long, long, long time. Epic Games weren't just made yesterday. Epic Games weren't just made on the 360 with Gears of War. Epic Games have been around for decades. They've seen how gaming has changed over literal decades. They've seen how the internet has changed over literal decades. They've seen how communities, interaction, digital distribution, storefronts, companies, support, whatever it is, has changed over literal decades. This company is worth billions of dollars. And not to mention, they've actively spoken out against some of these policies and some of these ways they're doing things. They believe forums and communities are toxic and won't be including them, so their store will be proper, if you will. It'll be a wholesome environment because of all the kiddies playing Fortnite. And not to mention reviews, which is a shady thing within itself. So overall, there are pros and cons for this whole situation. Obviously, it's not very hard to create another account and then to just click a different launcher to get your different games. But of course, it would be nice to have them all in one location, in one place. But we'll see how it goes. On top of that, you do have the benefit to consumers as well, with the possibility of reduced price. I say possibility because, like I said, I don't expect all these other big, greedy companies to follow suit. After all, they probably look at it as, well, if we're going to sell 1 million units on Steam and make X amount of money, well, if we sell 1 million units on the Epic Store, we'll make even more money if we sell it at the same price. But this brings back to the thing I always say, usually in relation to consoles, believe it or not. Competition breeds innovation. Steam has been king for far too long, in some people's opinion. They've been lazy, they've been complacent. That one, for the most part, I can agree with. So maybe Valve will finally get off their arse to do something different to stop all this. I personally have a download code for Metro that I picked up nice and cheap and redeemed it on Steam already, so I will be playing that on the 15th of February 2019, because I have no intentions of using the Epic Games Store. At least not until it makes some significant improvements to, maybe not equal, but rival a modern, competent platform. Anyway, let me know in the comments section below, what's your whole take on this? With more and more companies moving away from Steam, and now random third-party developers. Let me know what you think about the whole situation and how it's going to play out. What you're more interested in seeing. Say pros and cons. Let me know all that good stuff in the comments section below. Hit the appropriate button to let me know how I did on the video. And while you're at it, why not head on over and hit the little subscribe button. Let's get it up to 850 so we can get those Dank Souls 300% blind playthroughs going on. And let's boost it up to 1,000 as well. We get that promised game room tour. I know it's fabled and everyone wants to see it at this point. And while you're at it, why not ring the little notification bell? Granted, getting a notification from YouTube in current year about a live stream or a new video upload is a whole other story, but hey, at least you can say you tried, am I right? As always, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the rest of the videos in my channel.